I felt like business podcasts were already there. So I didn't want to do one just with generic business.
Right.
But I picked apps because I was like, apps are growing. I have an app business. Let me see if I can turn this little side business into a full-time business. And so hit record, started interviewing some of my heroes in the space, the co-founder of Shazam, Chris Barton. And through that, I built an audience who then started coming to me.
When did you first discover the term App Store optimization?
It was essentially when I started, right? SEO for the App Store. Everybody was talking about App Store optimization. Back then, there was just a few of us talking about it. But even then, Jonathan, this is the theme. I felt like it was too crowded of a space. And then enough people started coming and I was like, well, everybody searches for it, right? I'm using tools and I'm validating the market. So I'm like, people do talk about this a lot. So why don't I just talk about it? Why I love running the agencies. One, I can see the mistakes that other founders make. I'm like, no. Two, I can see the success that other founders make. Oh, they did it like this, right? Like, oh, that's cool.
Hey marketers, our podcast guest for today is Steve Young. He is the founder of App Masters, which is a mobile app marketing agency. And he also runs the #1 YouTube channel on all things mobile app marketing of the same name. So he teaches everything to do with mobile app growth, user acquisition, app store optimization. In this episode, we're going to be talking about how he built his YouTube channel and how that YouTube channel funnels onto his agency, App Masters. We're going to talk about common mistakes that both marketers and developers deploy when they're trying to grow their app. We're also going to talk about common mistakes that happens during the app development process before you even launch your app, as well as onboarding and funnel optimization strategies. Really great session. I hope you enjoy the podcast. Peace, my friend. I think it's such an interesting space, app marketing, because it's known, but it's so niche that you've kind of dominated that landscape, at least on like the YouTube side. I don't know was that strategic or kind of random?
That was not my intention. I started the podcast back in 2013, just interviewing people. Somebody in the realm was like, hey, video's doing well for me in terms of just attracting clients. And so I was like, I can do video. Why don't I just do that too? And then I started the YouTube stuff because of that, because he was just like, it's killing it for me. It's working really well. And I was like, all right, let me try it then. I think I'd be good on video. So let me do a video channel too. And yeah, that really took off. So I already knew that YouTube is the second most search engine. It's the most, it's the second biggest search engine, blah, blah, blah. And so I already had that realm in there, but it wasn't I thought the way I saw it in the very beginning was YouTube was my way of sharing the stuff that I knew, whereas the podcast was really trying to focus more on the guests and learning from the guests. And YouTube was like, hey guys, this is just about me now. I'm going to share with you what I know. And that's sort of how I segmented the two. And now it's just become all YouTube.
That's awesome. So what's your background and how did you get into marketing? I know looking at your LinkedIn, you actually formally studied marketing as well. So it'd be interesting to unpack that.
Yeah, I love marketing. I wanted to be a business guy for the longest time. I wanted to be an entrepreneur. So I went to college, majored in business, minored in computer science. I just felt, this was late 90s, by the way. So early 2000s, I felt like there was going to be an intersection of business and tech, some way or some form, obvious, but I wasn't smart enough to be a computer science major. So I majored in business and minored in computer science. And then I love marketing ever since. I did all throughout my career. I was doing more digital marketing, PPC, affiliate marketing, email marketing, content marketing, all the different marketing, but never app marketing. But it was in 2011 when I wanted to build apps, taught myself how to code, again, that minor in computer science, and started making apps of my own. And so I was like, this is cool. Like I can see how my son was engaging with apps. I was like, this is awesome. Like I gotta make something like this too. And so I started making apps, and then it was just a little side income of anywhere from $500 to $1,000 a month, which was pretty decent, but I'm in California and that's nothing to live off of. And so I decided to start the podcast because even back then, Jonathan, I thought business related podcasts, there were too many. Right? There was Mixergy, there was John Lee Dumas, Entrepreneurs on Fire. There's Pat Flynn. I felt like business podcasts were already there. So I didn't want to do one just with generic business.
Right.
But I picked apps because I was like, apps are growing. I have an app business. Let me see if I can turn this little side business into a full-time business. And so hit record, started interviewing some of my heroes in the space, the co-founder of Shazam, Chris Barton. And through that, I built an audience who then started coming to me for marketing help. And so
Right.
given the digital marketing background, I've sort of taken the things I've known from that digital marketing world and brought them into the app marketing world. And sort of, I think that's what makes me different versus all the
Right.
other app marketing. Look, I'm a little bit older too, so I have that advantage where I got to live with the digital marketing side of things. But I feel like everybody that's younger now, they're just focused on app marketing, period. There's lots of learnings from the digital side that I've brought into the app side, and I can give you examples, but it helps me become a better app marketer, in my opinion.
For sure. It sounds like you were very strategic from day one. Like you know your niche. It sounds like everything was laid out. Because for me, like my
way,
YouTube
dude.
channel, I'm still trying to figure out like who's my ICP, what's the main channel I'm focusing on. But it sounds like you're day
Look,
one. This is it.
I thought about this. It wasn't like I'm not that like forward thinking. I don't think about that. I just saw that apps are growing. And then and I got sort of lucky in that I started apps. Like I started my own app. Apps were growing. Bro, I wanted to start a podcast for the longest time. Like it was before I started this. And I just didn't know what the topic was. And then it just hit me like one day, like out of the blue. I was like, apps are growing, Steve, and you have an app business. Just do one on apps. And so I got lucky in that I picked two trends that were early enough: apps, podcasting. And that was it. Now everybody has a podcast. Now everybody has an app.
We're all
So
too late.
I got lucky. It wasn't strategic, bro. I wasn't like, what? And then so I started, if I look backwards now, and if I was trying to actually be strategic, then I'd be like, AI is going to be, I feel like that's the next app thing. So AI and whatever, I don't know, but that's the next AI is, I feel like, is the next app or .com or whatever it is. That's the next big
Yeah,
trend
for sure.
to pick up on.
AI, it's funny you mentioned that. There was a conference by Bubble, no code platform.
Yeah.
You could, I mean, eventually you can prompt apps, just by typing it like mobile. It's crazy. I mean,
People have already done it.
When did you first discover the term app store optimization? Because it's still like I've been doing marketing for 8 years, but it's only as of the past 3 years I only started to hear that. Maybe it's because in the UK we're quite laggards. Maybe in the US and some parts of Europe they're kind of early adopters. They learn about these new terms and new hacks.
It was essentially when I started, right? SEO for the App Store. Everybody was talking about App Store optimization. Back then, there was just a few of us talking about it. But even then, Jonathan, this is the theme. I felt like it was too crowded of a space, right? And I was like, oh, there's this person that's talking about it. There's this person. So I was like, I shied away from it. And then enough people started coming in, and I was like, well, everybody searches for it, right? I'm using tools and I'm validating the market. So I'm like, people do talk about this a lot. So why don't I just talk about it? Even though I didn't feel like I can add that much, but then I started adding it. And then also like I do it differently than others. So I didn't just learn from somebody. I brought in my SEO knowledge. See, back to like using other marketing. I used my SEO knowledge and I sort of molded it together. And then I just had a way different approach than other people, that some people resonated with my content for ASO a bit more than others. And I just broke it down. I like details. And so the premise I use is, my old boss once told me, Steve, if you have an idea for any initiative, come with data. Because if we're going to come with if we're new opinions, we're going with mine because I'm the boss. And I've always looked through that lens in terms of always having data, be data driven in ASO, and anything you do, be data driven as much as possible. And so that was my take on it.
100%.
But now it becomes everybody knows about it, I think. But who knows?
Yeah. I don't think it's never too late. Like it's funny. Like I've posted maybe 74 videos over the past year. My videos on app marketing are the ones that tend to get more views than the ones that are on like performance marketing. It's a bit odd because I wouldn't say that I specialize in app marketing. So it's a good niche to be in. From my perspective, it's still early days, even though, like you mentioned, it's been around since, I guess, 2008 when apps were kind of invented, the release of the iPhone, I guess. But I want to transition on to App Masters because this is an interesting business model, right? Because in theory, it's an app marketing agency, but you also have, you're the number one YouTube channel on app marketing. For the listeners, what is App Masters?
Yeah, App Masters. So what we're trying to be, Jonathan, is we got a team of 20 and trying to hire a couple more, but we're trying to be the most effective, most affordable app marketing agency. The premise, so this was strategic. I had a premise that the services as a service I think that's how they call it. But anyways, it's sort of using software as a service model and applying it to services. And so that's essentially what I did. And it was through a failure. I tried to launch a unlimited, because I felt like unlimited was going to be the future. Unlimited blank, right? So unlimited designs, design pickle, unlimited like accounting, bench. I use bench.co. I'm saying things that I use. Video Husky is unlimited video editing. They have video editors in the Philippines, and then you just use them, right, to cut up our YouTube videos. So I was like, that's the future. I feel like that's the future. That's the easiest way to build sort of a software, right? Like I'm not going to build software, but I'm going to build it service, but price it in a way that is sort of like a SaaS. And so that's how we've done it. And that I was strategic on, and that's what happened. I think too many agencies, look, Jonathan, I didn't seek out to build an agency. That was never my intention. I started the podcast to turn my little side app business into a full-time business. But I wasn't religious in that first year because I left 6 months after starting the podcast. I left that corporate job. So I wasn't religious. But the thing, so I tried a bunch of things that first year that didn't, like, minimal success, right? Some success, but not a whole lot. But the one thing that people kept asking me for was, Steve, help me with my app launch. Help me with my app launch. So I said, F it. I'm having a hard time just figuring out anything to get traction that I can replace my income. I made less on my first year on my own, right? I made less. So I was like, okay, I need to replace it. And then I went all in on the agency side. What started out as like a $500 product has transitioned into what it is today. But it was just because I listened to the audience. And so when I say affordable, effective, I'm also listening because a lot of my audience and a lot of our clients we work with some of the biggest apps in the world, but we also work with some of the tiniest startups. And being a consultant, like it's hard being a founder. Everything's on your shoulders. And so that's why I have this vision of like, I want to cut the fluff. I don't want to be like other agencies that charge a certain way on ad spend. I want to cut the fluff and I want to give you everything. And I think creatively too, Jonathan, like when I say effective, affordable, I mean it, because I think a lot of agencies will just say, let's run ads. And I'm like, that's too easy. Why? Because I'm spending your money. I'm not even spending my own money. I'm just managing your money. That's too easy. I can do it, but let me come up with some more creative ways that will get you some traction without spending the money. And I try to look through that lens. What if I had no budget? What if I was trying to growth hack everything? I try to look at through that lens because the alternative is much easier in my opinion. I can do that. We do it, but that's not the challenge though.
Yeah, no, I resonate with, you made some really good points. The first one you mentioned was on the agency side. I do find a lot of agencies now offer some sort of a SaaS on the side. It's like hybrid SaaS, hybrid service-based business. So I think obviously we know AppTweak, AppRadar, they're SaaS, but also they have like consulting services or agency services. So that's an interesting trend. But what really resonated was your point about when you're working with an early stage startup, let's say, the pressure of the founders, even if they're not VC funded, it's really high, right? It's so risky. And I think approaching your work with the end client as a partnership, it's probably a much better approach than just saying, hey, we'll take 20% of your advertising spend. So as you grow, we also grow as an agency. I think it's that model's a bit dangerous, especially now with competition rising. Being able to build apps with a prompt, that's kind of scary too. Do you get a lot of like inbound leads from YouTube, or is it from your networking? Is it a mixture of both? Are you able to like track where your prospects are coming from?
I think most of the people find me on YouTube. That's
YouTube.
It. Yeah. We don't do any outbound stuff. I mean, I do speak at events and stuff, and they do translate to, visibility and just clients. But most of the people, like I can only talk at so many events. All right, Jonathan, like I can't do it. That's not going to be scalable, but YouTube is the primary audience. That's where most people 100%. Find us about. And yeah, we do know outbound.
Just closing in on App Masters, is there a specific business or app category you work in, or is it pretty much you're open to any dating, gaming, whatever comes, I guess?
We've done it all, but I think the primary one, and it's just a shift in the market anyways, is all going to be subscription-based apps anyways. So whatever category that falls under, then, that's what we specialize in, I would say. But we've done it all. Games, dating, we've seen it all. The cool thing about the job and why I grew up in California, in the Bay Area. Okay? So I had this mindset growing up that you'd have to raise millions and sell for billions. All right. And it was through listening to podcasts early on in 2013 where I was like, oh, lifestyle businesses. And I was like, oh, wait, you get to dictate your own hours, pick up your kids, and just earn a good enough living that supports your lifestyle. I said, I want that. I don't want to. And I went the YC route and I applied, I got rejected. I went all that route, but I was like, forget that. So I don't try to do any of this stuff anymore. Like I just try to, I'm like, all right, this is what's needed and this is the best that I can do. So in terms of categories, like we've seen it all. Oh, here's what I really meant to say. I've seen the thing I want to say to anybody that's listening, like being a consultant, being an agency, if you grew up in the Bay Area too, and you had this mindset, don't sleep on it. Why I love running the agencies. One, I can see the mistakes that other founders make. I'm like, no. Two, I can see the success that other founders make. Oh, they did it like this, right? Like, oh, that's cool. Hey, this is where you're screwing up too. And three, I've seen so many types of apps. This is the connection. Okay. I finally found the connection again. So many types of apps that make a ton of money, right? Like, and I would say 10,000 plus, right? And I think that's a pretty decent living. And it's the dumbest idea. You know what I mean? It's like the silliest idea, the silliest to execute, the simplest to execute on too, but they make money. And I love that about my job, right? Like I love that one, you have a YouTube following so people already know you, right? You don't have to ever introduce yourself. Two, you get to see the potential and the possibilities. And three, you get to see how everybody else has done it. Man, I'm glad I didn't listen to all the Bay Area people about like scalability and all that. I'm glad I did it this way because I've got so much more knowledge than anybody else, in my opinion, like in this space.
100%. Yeah. I mean, I know a few founders who are VC backed, and what I can say, it's the grass looks greener. Like the pressure of like having investors, and especially if your app hasn't found product market fit, which is more often the case. I've seen a few startups I've actually personally worked with basically die. I won't mention the names, but yeah, it's a tough market. I think you want to be smart, and I think you need to be clear with, I resonated with your message regarding being clear about the type of lifestyle you want. In this case, like, I guess the term people use is like a lifestyle business, instead of just following what, YC saying, hey, have an idea, apply, and then we'll fund you £500,000, take whatever, 7%, and then hope for the best. Such a old school model,
Yeah, totally, man.
So I want to go specific into changes in mobile app marketing, because obviously I'm sure you've seen it change, both from media buying perspective and the ASO side. But any major trends you're finding that's probably useful for the listeners to like know about? Especially, I think this year there's a few changes, right?
Yeah, I mean, the big trends at a high level would be just AI. I think AI is the future. A lot of our most best case studies are in the AI space, right? And so, like I always say, AI is like the next .com. Like everybody wanted blank.com, like calm.com, whatever, jonathan.com. But now, like, it's AI. Like, what is your thing that you're going to be known for with blank AI, right? And then from the world of app marketing, just growth-wise, look, I think the changes are going to be like ASO, I feel like, is getting extremely hard. And I've talked to a lot of people that don't even care about ASO and just figure out a funnel, right? It's like any business. So usually, if there's one thing, anybody in the app space, look, if ASO should be part of your overall growth channel, not all of it, in my opinion. It's very hard to make it all of it and find. We've done it. It's not impossible. It's just very hard. So you have to be patient. But if you want faster results, use UA, use meta ads. That's all you have to focus on. Use the meta SDK. It is a pain in the butt to implement, but use a meta SDK and then just go. But if you have patience and you're cheap, use ASO. If you have some money and you're impatient, use meta. And hopefully you're somewhere in the middle. Start off with ASO and some ASA, and then as you start getting traction and your numbers look good from just a install to paying customer perspective, then turn on meta to scale it up.
Right. When you're onboarding a new app, let's say they already have like 1,000 installs, but they're still very early stage. Do you have like a usual process for like planning out, hey, listen, we're going to spend $10,000 US, we're going to do Facebook ads, we'll hammer in these creatives. How do you approach that initial like onboarding session? I feel like that's very vital.
I want to make sure there's no holes in the bucket. So if they've been following our content, as we've gotten bigger and our platform has gotten bigger from a YouTube perspective too, the people come in to be like, I've watched all your stuff. I know what the paywall, I know what the onboarding. And I'm like, good, let's turn on the engine. Let's get top of the funnel. Right. But usually if the clients that come in, I look at the bottom of the funnel, because who gives a crap how many downloads you get if they're not going to convert? So I look at the bottom of the funnel first, and then I'm like, okay, that looks good. Then let's pour in the downloads. But if that doesn't look good, then we have to fix that.
Right. So when I was working for Circle, a football gaming app last year, I find that there's a disconnect between marketing, so what we do, and the product.
Yeah.
So do you find like friction points? So let's say you've got the user journey, someone installs the app, someone signs up, but then at some point they don't add in their credit cards, they don't subscribe. Do you find that you give advice on the product as well?
Yeah. Yes. I made a claim in 2013. I wanted to be like the conversion rate optimization of apps, right? I wanted to be that because, again, to my web days, I saw that. I saw people talking about CRO, and I was like, okay. I was like, well, nobody's talking about CRO in the app space. Let me do that. I already know some of this stuff. And so I started saying that longer paywalls would perform. And I'm honest, Jonathan. I was like, I don't know, but I know this works well on the web. I don't see why it wouldn't work on the app side of things. And people started A/B testing it. We started A/B testing it ourselves. It worked better, right? And so, yeah, absolutely. They go hand in hand. Like, again, we're trying to be affordable. We're trying to be effective. We're trying to kill all the funnels. And I think our bread and butter is ASO, Apple Search Ads, and ASA, and conversion rate optimization. The Meta and the Google, we do pretty well, but I wouldn't say we're best in class because there's a lot of people. But I don't know if there's anybody that can beat us in the first three: ASO, ASA, and paywall. Yeah.
That sounds good, man. So let's say there's a mid-level marketer who wants to kind of follow your footsteps. Hey, Steve, I'm a social media manager or a media buyer. I really want to start my own agency or specialize in app marketing. What kind of general advice would you give someone who wants to transition into the world of app store optimization, Apple Search Ads?
Easy. It's worked already. Okay. Create content. Go on LinkedIn. Go on YouTube. Create content. I said this advice to somebody that was a guest of mine on the podcast, and she started creating content. I noticed it. Started liking it. I was like, oh, this is great. And she's like, she flew out to London. I was in London doing an event. She's from Israel. She flew out to London. She's like, Steve, I gotta thank you. I just came out to thank you in person. I was like, why? She's like, you told me create content. I was like, okay. She's like, so I did. And I was like, oh my God, I realized that. And it kind of clicked in for me. I was like, oh yeah, I noticed that you were creating a lot of great content on LinkedIn. And she's like, yeah. And now I have more clients than I can possibly imagine. Right. LinkedIn from a B2B perspective is a killer platform. And until they change the algorithm, the fact that people like and comment on your stuff gives you visibility to their network, right? I think a lot of social networks are moving to more discoverability versus just a straight follow. I have to know you to like see your stuff. It's starting to be more discoverable content. I think TikTok changed the game for that one. And because of that, that's what LinkedIn has done. And so I've talked to a lot of different consultants and agency owners, and that's all they do. It's just content.
Yeah, well, I agree 100%. Yeah, content marketing is king. Like it's going back to building influence, the idea of like becoming a thought leader in your space. And, you, Steve, you've done it pretty well, like in the app marketing space. I mean, if I type UA or ASO, you'll likely come up with the first three on the search results bar. So that's awesome, man.
Yeah, thanks, man.
great inbound tactic there.
Hey, it wasn't tactic.
So
Hold on.
No, it wasn't a tactic.
No, I went from the premise that I pinch myself every day, Jonathan, because I'm like, all I did was start a podcast trying to interview the heroes that I really admired in the app space. And I have everything I have because of that. Like, I always looked at through the lens. I think too many times people try to, like, when I get on a podcast, I go live, and sometimes I've had live streams where I only get 10 viewers live. And I started feeling crap about myself. And I was like, why am I feeling crap? That's 10 people that took an hour out of their day to just watch me talk to another person. I should be proud of that number. And I said, look, Steve, are you learning anything from your guests? If that's a yes, then who cares how many people watch? Right. And I look at it through that lens, because I think too many times the mistake happens when you start thinking you need to have X amount of subscribers, X amount of views, X amount of everything. and you stop thinking about why you started this journey. And I told myself, Steve, you started interviewing people so that you can learn from it. If you are still learning, who gives a crap how many people show up? You're still learning, right? So that's,
Right.
yeah.
I agree with that 100%. My approach to content marketing is the same exact thing. I've gone through so many pain points throughout my 8 years of marketing. If I can alleviate one person's pain point, that will be amazing. And when you start seeing comments of people like thanking you and giving you props for the content you put out there, it feels great, even if it's just one person. So if you're a marketer, you haven't started a YouTube channel or haven't created content, definitely go out, start doing it, start planting those seeds. So I want to go specific on tools, and you can take this wherever you want. What are your favorite tools, like for media buying or user acquisition in general, or app store optimization?
So the favorite ASO tools would be obviously the meta, the UA side of things. That's how I would focus on. ASO, I love AppFollow, appfollow.io. It's a free tool. From a keyword research perspective, there's nobody better in my opinion. It just makes it easy. I don't have to think. I put in a few keywords. I click on this little eye icon. So go into the tool. I'll follow along. I'll show you guys. Go into ASO tools, put in any keyword you want to do. And then when the search results happen, there's going to be a little eye icon that shows up. Click on that little eye icon, and AppFollow will give you all the keywords that this app is probably using in their metadata, and you can see the volume. You can then take all those keywords. You can pay for AppFollow and get their difficulty score. But if ASO is going to be your primary channel, right, you want to find keywords that are around 30 traffic, which is what AppFollow will tell you. You put them into App Radar, and they'll give you the difficulty score. I found that App Radar has the best difficulty scores. And so you're trying to find keywords that have low difficulty, under 40 on App Radar, and the search score is above 30. If you can achieve the number one, maybe even the number two spot, that's enough to build a six-figure business. That's the fastest way to build a six-figure business. I'm letting ASO decide my next app idea versus my brain telling me what's the next best idea. I'm saying, what are people searching for? What does the market want? And let's build for what the market is asking for.
Awesome. That's a good way to close the podcast. Really gold mine there. Where can people find you, Steve, and anything you want to promote?
No, just go to appmasters.com or just go to YouTube and find us, youtube.com/appmasters, or just appmasters.com, and you'll find the YouTube channel there as well. All right, man. I'll talk to you soon.
Awesome.
Later.
Thanks, Steve.
All right.
Peace out, man.
Bye.